Raiders news is surprisingly good today. My name is Mitchell Renz. You guys are watching the Raiders Report, and coming up here on today's show, I'm going to talk about the news that came out around the silver and black that honestly, it kind of put a smile on my face. I know we're going into Chiefs week, and based on all the answers that I'm seeing on social media, there's not a lot of faith right now the Raiders are going to be able to get a dub in Arrowhead. If I can give any hope to it, the referee officiating that game is 2-0 for the Las Vegas Raiders in the last two games at Arrowhead. The other thing, though, that at least, gives me a little bit of hope that we're moving in the right direction is the news around Brock Bowers and the news around Jakobi Meyers. I'll talk about that coming up here today. Also, we'll get into the injury report news from Kansas City, the silver and black. Find out which big name star was added to the injury report, though it doesn't seem to be all that serious. Doesn't seem to be really anything. Pete Carroll, he commented on the NFL trade deadline. I saw this report and I saw what he had to say in terms of like if the Raiders win or lose their next two games before the NFL trade deadline. I thought that was interesting. And then the Raiders also worked out a player. All of that is coming up here on today's show. If you don't already know, hit that subscribe button for videos every single day around the Las Vegas Raiders. I know my house right now looks a little bit crazy. Alex and I were moving some things around. So setup looks a little bit different, but the Raiders news still always hits. And if you want free videos, make sure you're subscribed. All right, so let's talk about Brock Bowers because the Raiders star tight end, he practiced today. And it was a limited practice, but he still was able to go out there. And it's the first time that he's practiced since October 1st, which is a major, major step, literally, in the right direction. Bowers ended up injuring that knee in week one against the New England Patriots, and it's been kind of a weird situation. He's missed the last two games because of it. And, Pete Carroll kind of said something a few weeks ago that he's at least trending in the right direction. From what it sounded like then, Pete expected Bowers to return week 9, and I'm not going to lie to you, I saw the report, I saw him out there practicing, and there's a part of me where I was like, oh, wait a minute here. Is Brock Bowers going to be able to play? I will still say this, that I do not think that he's going to be out there. They also listed him as doubtful on the injury report, but when Brock was asked in terms of his availability for this week, he said, quote, definitely thought about it. We'll see how I'm feeling. And yeah, it kind of reminds me, I don't know if it was last year, 2 years ago, shit, might have been 3 years at this point, when Max Crosby was doubtful for Kansas City. And then guess what? He ended up going out there and he played. Now, the glass half full, glass half empty way to look at this is glass half full is he's clearly moving in the right direction, right? Clearly moving in the right direction. I don't think that he's going to play this week. Do think that he's going to be back week 9. And the season that we're having, you kind of have to look at it as what's the best long-term option for Brock Bowers. The best long-term option is if he's not 100% healthy, I don't want him out there on the field. And if he's not 100% healthy, this week, then he's not ready to go out there. Let's take our time. Let's make sure Brock Bowers is flipping Brock Bowers because that really changes our offense. And not that it would be funny, but maybe it would be funny if, we're sitting here panicking as the Raiders offense is struggling, Geno Smith's struggling, Chip Kelly's struggling. What if the Raiders offense is only struggling because your best player on offense has been injured since week 1? I'm just saying, let's get them healthy. Let's see how the season goes from there on out. But I know I speak on behalf of all of Raider Nation. Seeing 89 out there on the practice field, yeah, again, I've seen so many people who are like, oh, we're not even trying to win this game. The fact that Brock Bowers and Jakobi Meyers both went out there and practiced today, I still think gives me hope that Pete Carroll, this regime, is going to try to go in an Arrowhead and they are going to try to win that football game. But if you haven't already, if you don't know where the comment section is, there's right down below in any video that I give you guys. I hope that you always interact with me, but show Brock Bowers a little bit of love. Type those 89s down below. I'll tell you this, we're a lot better football team. We're a lot better organization with a healthy Brock Bowers. Let's go to probably the biggest news and ultimately the number one reason why you clicked on this video and why I title it. Raiders news is surprisingly good today. Jakobi Meyers practiced, and the Raiders are going to keep saying that he is dealing with a knee and toe injury. I'm going to be real. I'm still not buying it. I think that he didn't practice due to the trade rumors around him, though I'll say this, I have not heard anything new. I have not seen anything new around Jakobi in the last 24 hours, so maybe some of the conversations have cooled off a little bit. And, that's kind of how the NFL is, right? The NFL is a day-to-day, it is a week-to-week organization, and if the rumors are hot on Wednesday and Thursday, it could be so hot that his agent is telling him, hey, man, you shouldn't go out there and practice. But now the agent's probably going, well, we're this late in the week. Do you want to go out there? Do you want to play? Like, what's your situation looking like? And I think Jakobi has always shown that he is a professional, but I do really, really, truly think that the trade talks got to a point on Wednesday and Thursday where he was very close to being dealt, but it doesn't look like there's any conversations going on. The part of this, again, glass half full, glass half empty, you're probably going to hear me say that a few times in this show, and you're probably going to keep hearing me say it throughout the entire season. Pete Carroll said that he expects, and the Raiders expect, Jakobi Meyers to play against the Kansas City Chiefs. That's good news, right? He practiced. They expect him to play. Good news. I also remember, though, on Thursday when Chip Kelly went up to the podium, the Raiders offensive coordinator, and he sat up there and he said, I expect Jakobi Meyers to practice today. I understand that practice and game, very, very different. Allen Iverson will tell you. But the good side is, no matter what, the Kansas City Chiefs have to prepare. No matter what, Andy Reid and this regime, they have to prepare all week for Jakobi Meyers, and seeing him, go out there today and practice, maybe that makes them prepare just a little bit more. The bad side is, I still don't know if Jakobi is going to play. Like, I want to sit up here and tell you that I believe Jakobi will, but at the exact same time, Chip Kelly thought he was going to practice on Thursday. Jakobi ended up not doing it. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be a Jakobi Meyers decision. It really could just be an agent decision for Jakobi. So I want to know from all of y'all, I'm going to ask you this question because I said it earlier this week that I did not think that Jakobi Meyers would play another game with the Las Vegas Raiders. Obviously, my job is to give my opinion. I didn't say that I sat up here and I was told by a source just based on what happened during the week. I didn't think that we'd ever see Jakobi Meyers play again. So you can let me know. Am I going to be right or am I going to be wrong? Will Jakobi Meyers play this Sunday against the Kansas City Chiefs? You're about to get it with the YouTube ad break. While that ad is playing, scrolling down and give me your answer. I'm going to stick with my take, and I might be one of the only people wrong. I'll say this right now. Jakobi, I hope you prove me wrong. I hope that I am wrong in saying this, but I do not think that Jakobi Meyers is going to play another game for the Las Vegas Raiders just based on the way that this past week went with the trade rumors, with him sitting out of practice. Yes, he practiced today, but even from what I was told, it was still a little bit of a limited base. He did get more work in than what Brock Bowers did, but it still wasn't, like full-on work that you're used to seeing your number one receiver get. We'll see if my take is right. I'll say this. I give my opinion here. It's why I want people to watch the show. You should never be afraid to give your opinion on something. But I'll say this. I hope I'm wrong. I want Jakobi Meyers to play. I want the Raiders to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Give me an FKC down below if you feel that. Coming up next year, we will get into the latest around the Raiders-Chiefs injury report, because again, one of the star players for the Raiders did pop up on there. We'll also talk about the player that the Raiders ended up bringing in today for a workout, and some interesting quotes from Pete Carroll in terms of what could happen to the Raiders, how they might be buyers or sellers at the NFL trade deadline, depending on how the next two games go. Week 7 against Kansas City Chiefs, Week 9 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The NFL trade deadline is November 4th, so it's kind of interesting because the Raiders, Week 7's Chiefs, Week 8 bye, Week 9 is Jags. That's November 2nd. November 4th, NFL trade deadline, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Thursday night football, Raiders-Broncos, November 6th. I mean, that week is going to be an insane week on the Raiders Report. Make sure you're subscribed. I'm going to be live a ton. All right, let's talk about our sponsor here, and then I'll get into the final stuff. Today is going to be a great day. Why? I don't have a lineup to talk about, but I tell you this right now. As soon as I get done doing this video, I'm going to go watch some baseball playoffs. I'm going to watch the Blue Jays. I'm going to watch the Mariners. I'm going to watch the Brewers tonight. I'm going to watch the Dodgers. And I'm going to do it with the lineup in on PrizePicks. And this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. I don't want you to miss any of the excitement this football season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. PrizePicks offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out even if your lineup isn't perfect. You could double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. I'm going to put that link for you guys down in the comments, down in the description of today's show. It's literally in the first paragraph of the description if you want to get started on Prize Picks. But I'll keep saying it. If the Raiders are going to be bad, at least you have something to root for when you're watching them. Cheers. All right, let's keep this show moving here. Let's go to the Raiders and Chiefs injury report. Brock Bowers, again, listed as doubtful. He was limited. Dylan Laube limited with that hamstring injury, but doesn't have a game status. I expect him to play, though. Jakobi Meyers is listed as questionable. He was limited today. Alex Bachman, that's kind of a big one that might get swept under the rug a little bit, only because of what Bachman has been able to do from a special team standpoint from punt returner, but also in the event that Jakobi Meyers doesn't play. Like, I know that I think a lot of people actually expect the Raiders to do a lot of Jack Bech, Dante Thornton Jr. if Jakobi ends up getting moved on from. But I'm going to be honest with you. I think that Alex Bachman is the sneaky man in the mix there to be getting some of that work in the slot. And I just think it's because they trust him. They know exactly what you're going to get in him. He's a hard, he's a hard fighter in terms of physical football player, good slot receiver, kind of plays like the poor man Julian Edelman, Danny Amendola role, if you want to throw that out there. But I do think not having Bachman, if the Raiders don't have Jakobi, could be a bigger loss than what people realize. But no matter what, not having him on special teams, he kind of reminds me a little bit of the Hunter Renfrow, where he's not the most athletic guy, but he's a smart special teamer, and that does really matter for a team that struggled this season to have good field position. Justin Shorter practiced today in full. Max Crosby was added to the injury report today with a back issue. He was limited. Again, no game status. I think you'd honestly have to take out his spine to make sure Max isn't playing in this football game. But, maybe it's just something we monitor, something we look at of having back issues, because they can be a fickle mistress. They're really hard to be able to deal with. For the Kansas City Chiefs, they had a bunch of players practice in full today. The only one who will not play, and this is a very interesting situation. Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle, personal reasons here for Kansas City, he's going to be out. And I've talked to a few people around Chat Sports around that situation. I think that there's a lot more to it. I'm not going to sit up here and compare it to the Christian Wilkins incident, but there is something going on. I don't even really want to compare it to the Michael Mayer situation, because the Mayer situation seemed different, but there is some legit concern inside that Kansas City locker room that their first-round pick, Josh Simmons out of Ohio State, that there's some other stuff going on. And again, I don't know it. I didn't get too much into it, but there's a lot of rumors around that. So that's something to look at. But if you're the Silver and Black, that's kind of a matchup that you got to figure out a way to take advantage of, whether it's Malcolm Koonce, whether it's Max Crosby. It's going to be all hands on deck. It's Kansas City. It's Patrick Mahomes. So we got to bring our A game and hope that they bring our C game. All right, so I saw a tweet from Ryan McFadden, and I think right now he's one of the best in the biz in terms of the Raiders beat reporter. So Ryan, keep going what you're going with, man. He asked Pete Carroll about the outcome of the next two games and would impact their approach at the NFL trade deadline. This is what Pete Carroll said to this question, okay? So the question is, the trade deadline is approaching. How do the outcomes of the next two games with the Chiefs and then the Jaguars after the bye kind of impact your guys' approach at the deadline? Here's what Coach Carroll said. I don't think we approach it any differently because of the schedule and all. We're competing to get as good as we can possibly get, so we're looking for all opportunities. And as we watch what's happening, it seems really quiet right now in conversations or whatever's going on. But we take each opportunity as the next comp that we go get. So we're going to go after it. Johnny, in terms of, he was talking about John Spytek, got his guys scouring the league and seeing everybody's players in practice squad and all that kind of stuff. We're just trying to get better, so this doesn't change anything. I don't think the schedule will affect us with the bye coming up. It just gives us more time to work. I think Pete Carroll is starting to really get really good at saying a lot of things and not really saying anything, if I'm being honest. And I think at this point, Pete wants to win. All of us want the Raiders to win, but at the exact same time, like, what do you expect them to say? We're going to be sellers? No, like, Pete's hoping that they win the next 2 games, and they're hoping that they win the next 2 and go to 4-4 on the season. I mean, if you're able to win these next 2, hell yeah, man, let's go buying all day. But, you got Jacksonville, you got Kansas City, 2 really tough football teams. But, I mean, if you can beat Kansas City, you can beat anybody. I'll just say this. I don't expect the Raiders really to be buyers at all. I'd be shocked if they did. I'll keep saying the number one player that I think if they did buy, it'd be cornerback Tariq Woolen from the Seattle Seahawks. He's on the block, and he's a Pete Carroll guy. But I think at this point, they're sellers. And I think anything else besides them being a seller, because I don't know how you sell potentially your number one receiver in Jakobi Meyers, but then you want to buy other things. It would be peculiar, but maybe it fit with what the Raiders have seemingly done all the time. So, final thing here on today's show before I let you guys go and I go watch a little bit of baseball myself. The Raiders did work out a player today. Punters are people too. Brock Miller ended up getting the workout. Went to college at Southern Utah from 2009 to 2013. He was undrafted in 2014. Birthday on Valentine's Day. He grew up in San Diego, California, but he's played on the 49ers, the Giants, the Rams practice squads. He's played on the Seattle Dragons, the New Jersey Generals, and then the Michigan Panthers. So a lot of UFL participation there from old Brock Miller here. But he's actually, he was one of the best punters in the UFL. So the UFL punting yards leader just last season. The Raiders have been bringing in punters because A.J. Cole did get injured in their week 5 game. He played last week, but they've just been testing out different punters. They've been trying to rest him. They also want to get some long snap work in. So I think AJ is going to be fine, but if they do anything, I always do my best here to keep you guys up to date. All right, y'all, enjoy the rest of your Friday. I'm heading on out of here again. Wanted to make the video. I saw that Bowers and Jakobi practice. I thought that was worth, making a video out. I told you that I was surprised. I still don't know if Jakobi is going to play. Fingers crossed there, but my mentality is that we were never going to see him again. If we get to see him again in silver and black, I'm happy man to be wrong. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Go Raiders, and make sure you guys are pulling up, subscribing to the Raiders Report. We will be live an hour before kickoff against Kansas City. I got Mount Raider More Legend, Wild 114 in the building, and it's going to get rowdy. Raider Nation, make sure you click that subscribe button. There's going to be a button right here if you enjoyed the content. I think we did something right around here. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss anything. And then YouTube's going to recommend these 2 videos over here. Essentially, it's like, if you watch this video, I think that you're also going to like these. So please go check them out.